first semester in Middleton, I talked a lot about how I was excited to hear from new people and new perspectives and new stories that I had never encountered. And I got to do that all over again second semester. And even though that was still a really exciting experience, there were a lot of differences between training and mentoring. One of those was the guidance from Mr. Coleman and Mr. Rierick and Ms. Harris alongside Dr. McKinney, because those voices especially were making a difference in the conversations that were being had, and they had different perspectives on the things that we were talking about that made a difference in the way the students were able to approach the community. Another big difference were the levels of comfort and curiosity and engagement that the students had. A 7th grader or an 11th grader has a very different way of talking than a college student that committed themselves to being in a certain room completely by choice would have. We came in ready to talk, ready to share, some even more than others, but some students ranged from we can get 2 words out of them maybe if we encourage them to I'm ready to share a really big important part of my life story with you. And that's okay. Both of those sides were great, because our goal was just to make sure that people participated and that people were ready, that they were aware that they had a space where their voice could be heard and where their story could be heard. And for all the disadvantages to remote learning, I think that was a unique silver lining to me, because unfortunately all the students can participate as consistently because time changes, schedules change, technology changes, all of these things are affected when you go into remote schooling. But for the students that were able to participate, I think that they were made aware that this was a space in which their story and their voice could be heard, and that they were encouraged to think more deeply than watching our PowerPoints, hearing the stories, and moving on with their lives. That they were encouraged to make personal connections and share what they thought about it and what they knew, what they had already experienced, even at 7th grade, what they had already felt that mattered with these heavy topics, that their culture and their background and their different types of capital and that their families and that their communities and that their mirrors and all of these things mattered to them already, and that they were going to continue to matter until they were at our point, all the way through to adulthood, all the way through to our supervisors. Everyone had these stories. And just taking a moment out of their day, not how it would have been in the classroom where they were waiting for their turn and maybe waiting so long that they didn't even participate because everyone else had something to say, that we were calling them, that we were asking them to really participate and really come in and really give us their stories and give us their thoughts. And to not just talk about school, not just talk about the things that they were learning, but talk about life. These things that are going to matter in their lifetime. Students really seemed to me to focus in on 2 topics, especially when we were at the end of the program and recapping everything that we'd talked about. One thing was mirrors, which makes sense, because we all have role models. We all know how the media portrays certain groups of people. We all know how media has an effect on how we look at ourselves and others. We all know how mirrors work because we see it, because we have that big mirror of society that changes how we look at ourselves and how we look at others. Having the word for it, having the outlet to discuss why these things matter, why these things make a difference in our lives, is unique. We don't talk about those things as much. We don't give people the opportunity to explain why those things matter. We just know that they do. They just kind of exist. So that's why I think mirrors really had an effect. Another thing that had an effect on them, I think, was code switching. They really engaged, everyone really engaged in that topic. Code switching was one of my favorite topics first semester because having the word for it changed my perspective. And other students had the same thing. The words code switching make a difference because from a very young age you already learn that there's an appropriate way to talk, an appropriate way to dress, an appropriate presentation of yourself in every situation. And it's important that students know that it's not meant to take away from their culture, take away from their identity, take away from their background and the things that matter to them just because they're in a certain space. That everywhere you go, you can bring that cultural capital, you can bring the way you speak. Some things just have to shift, and that's just appropriate parts of society. That's what it is. It's societal expectations. And it shouldn't be. It should not be something that takes away a part of you. It should not be something that makes you feel that you have to act like something you're not. Pretend to be a person that you never learned to be or you never wanted to be. It's code switching. It's knowing the code for the situation that you're in and using it to the best of your ability, to your advantage. So if last semester gave me a new perspective, this semester opened my eyes to it even more. Amidst all the suffering in our world today and all of the tragedies that are seen everywhere, everything that's happening all at once this year, this program served as a reminder that we can come together as individuals with different capital, different backgrounds, different stories, and share them. And that people go through completely different things, completely contrasting lives, and that these topics, these things that we talk about, are important to everyone, are key to everyone in our world.